This is Steve Nijjar. You're listening to Vibe 105.
This is Vibe Talks, exclusively on Vibe 105.
This is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for Vibe 105 with a Vibe Talk segment, and I am happy to be joined by my guest today who's going to be talking about a very exciting venture in the football and soccer world. He is a local entrepreneur. He's Steve Nijjar. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Of course. I'm doing great. And Steve, this is an exciting time. I saw a press release there. Our mutual connection there, Off the Blast, is sent over to me. You purchased the club. You made a big purchase, a historic club there in Spain. Can you talk to our listeners a little bit about that?
Yeah, I keep forgetting it's very historic, but that's the part where I take a lot of pride in as a Punjabi Canadian, that we went over and did that. A club called Racing Madrid. And we're very proud to say that we are the owners or co-owners of the third oldest club in Madrid, Racing Madrid FC.
And how did this all come about? Like, was it a long process? Like, were you approached with the possibility of purchasing the team?
Actually, no, this came about through my son, believe it or not. My son, who is with the academy of Rayo Vallecano, which is a Liga club. He's in their academy system there. He was with a pro club here, and they didn't think much of him. And so we have friends in Europe and in Spain, a very renowned individual. And he said, bring him over, let me take a look at him. And we went back and forth twice, and they said, listen, we would love to develop your son. We think he's got a lot of potential. Not right now, but we see so much in him that we're willing to invest in him. We said that was the magic word to our ears, and we sort of went, and there we are. And then my friend approached me. He said, listen, let's get a club. I said, okay, I'm not interested. I'm just here for my son. He goes, no, come and take a look at the club. So we sort of drove 3.5 hours from Madrid, and he owned a club called Racing Murcia. And he said, listen, I want you to be the president of this club. I said, no, I don't want to. I've done this. My soccer days are over. Business days are over in the game. I'm not interested. Strictly for my son. That's why we came here. I said, come on. I said, okay, let me think about it. And we came back to Canada. And he goes, listen, I'm going to announce you as the president. I go, no, you're not. He goes, yes, I am. And the bugger actually announced me as the president of Racing Murcia. I said, man, what'd you do that for? And so I took on the role happily, even though he believed in me and trusted in me. And from there, it was just a bit of a headache for me, because I like to be hands-on, touch, feel, taste, know what's going on, know my players, know A to Z. I need to know everything that moves in the whole spectrum of the club. And I couldn't do that with Racing Madrid because it was 3.5 hours away from Madrid and 6 hours away from here, time difference. Then I just told him, I said, listen, I can't do this anymore. I'm not doing the job that I want to do. I said, I'm out. He was, come on, we got to do something. I said, well, let's get a club in Madrid. So he called me. He goes, listen, there's a club here that we can grab this and that. I said, okay, let's grab it. At least we're in Madrid. We know what's going on every day. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, we discussed it, and the club was picked up. And he goes, what do you want to name it? Because it was an existing club that we bought into the division. We could have bought the club in higher divisions. And one of my goals always was, having owned the Brampton Hitmen here in the Canadian Professional Soccer League in the early 2000 to 2004, I've always had this sort of dream in my goal in my back of my head. I go, wouldn't it be beautiful to go into a little city in Europe and you buy a small club, you make it grow, and you build with the passion, the sport, the community. And I said, you know what? Let's buy it in lower divisions. And we did. He goes, what do you want to name it? I go, name it Racing Madrid. He goes, why Racing Madrid? I go, I don't know, just name it Racing Madrid. He goes, really? He goes, yeah. Boom, Racing Madrid it is, Racing Madrid FC. Then about a week later, he calls me. He goes, seriously, he goes, bro, did you know? I go, know what? He goes, why did you choose that name? I go, something about it. I liked it. He goes, well, here's this. Racing Madrid was found in 1914. I go, get out of here. He goes, Google it. I Googled it as I was talking to him. I go, holy shit. You look at the history of it. It stopped playing years ago, and now we just got that club, the name, everything. I go, oh my God. And he goes, that's the third oldest club in Madrid. I go, everything checked out. I go, oh my God. And from there, I had you get a certain sense of pride, not egotistical pride, but the pride. Wow, I can't believe I have the third oldest club in Madrid, and now I have to stand up and be responsible for the name. It's a historic name, and that's exactly what we did. And unfortunately, we didn't get and we achieved the goals that we wanted in our very first year. We ended up 8th. We were at the top 3-4 majority of the season. And we ended up 8th. Their last game didn't go well as we planned. This is the world of sports. You build, you're going to win. Boom, you come crashing down and you lose. And it's a very big emotional roller coaster ride in this world. However, so we end up 8th. We're trying to see if we qualified for the Copa del Rey, the King's Cup. Real Madrid won it this year, as you know, so anything goes in that. So we weren't too happy, but regardless, people didn't know us. They thought we were going to be fly-by-night. They thought we were going to get relegated to a lower division. They didn't give us a time of the day. Players didn't want to come and play for us, but we ended up 8th out of I think 19 teams or 20 teams in our division. So successful, but not too happy. So I'm relieving all my coaching staff as of this week, early next week, because the mindset that I have and the mindset that they have in Europe is nothing is better than the first place. You have to be, and that's the mindset that I realized that they have in Europe. And compared to here, it's okay. No, it's not. We need to be number one, but we got to get promoted. So that's where we are, and that's how it happened, and I'm sticking to that story.
And also, like you brought up there, like Madrid's a populated area, especially with the success of Atletico and Real Madrid. So what are some challenges from the business standpoint of putting your name out there, your club out there? It is like a lower division in Spain. So like, have you noticed any difficulty in marketing your team in that area and selling tickets?
It's everything uphill. One, I'm Canadian. 2, I don't belong there. 3, me and my family were guests there. 4, we don't speak the language. 5, I don't have any connections. So everything's uphill. We got one fan. That's all we got. We got one fan. And we're good with that. Because we knew going in, that's what I wanted to do. We wanted to build. And we're good with that. And so every single thing is uphill battle for this. And this is what makes it fun. This is what makes it the underdog story. And listen, anybody can go and get investors and go pick up a club in second division, third division. Anybody can do that. Honestly, we could have done it, but that's not what it's about.
Yeah, I respect that because like you mentioned there, like you can buy shares in like Manchester United on the stock market and you can say you technically are part of that ownership, but there's just something about that going and investing in the division there and basically a new team from scratch because you're coming in with your own vision for it. So is there like any part of you that wants to do the same in Canadian soccer?
Man, it's so hard in Canadian soccer. There's so much racism here. Yeah. And I call it the way it is. I tried to get a League One team here, and they don't even return your phone calls. And when they do talk to you, go online and fill out the application. It's like, no, you need to talk to me first to find out who I am, what I can do, what I bring to the table, what my past is, what my history is, what I've done in the game, who I was in the game, and what I did for Rampant Hitman, and the challenges. Just telling somebody to go fill a piece of paper out online compared to we just bought a club in Madrid like that and now we finished our first season. It's very disheartening. Canadian soccer is me being Indian. I'm talking about. Me being Indian, I found there's a lot of still racism exists. That's why we took our son over to Madrid. And having mentioned in your previous comment that Madrid is a very populated area, and Madrid is a tough area to play soccer in. It is toughest, one of the toughest places. Having said that, Madrid is a center of the universe when it comes to developing kids. That's where all the pro soccer players have their kids, is in Madrid. It's how they develop young players. Ballon d'Or, look, it's been the Spanish team's players that have won it more in the last number of years, majority of the time. Whether who's best in Ronaldo, Messi, let's forget that. I don't get into that. The skill that the players in Spain have and technical ability, the way you play the game, the chess game, is just absolutely mind-boggling. And now when we watch the game here, it's like, oh my God, man, I'm bored. Because there's always, it's going to go here. You're going to play back to the keeper. Over there, it's just so technical. So we would love to have a team here, not in the CPL. I would love to get a League One team to build and develop. I'm all about developing and building. And then that would set my pyramid of play perfectly from Spain to Madrid FC, Racing Madrid FC to here, and all the way through. And it's been an education for me and my wife on how the game works in the background. And it's nowhere close to what people think it is. Absolutely nowhere close.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I know Atletico Madrid has done something like you're mentioning that you want to do with League One. They've done it with the CPO with Atletico Ottawa, and you could see some influence in maybe the way they play in Ottawa. But for your perspective, how difficult is it to just manage a staff? It's not like you're coming in with the Real Madrid of the world where you have all these resources at your disposal. When you're with a new club, how much do you devote to scouting? How much do you devote to player development, even physio for some of the players? How much of an extra, I wouldn't say burden, but how much of an extra just amount of work is it on a day-to-day for you?
It's you have your departments. We own a security company here, and everyone has a department, and everybody deals with it. And there's no different than in a football world, in a team. There's a coaching department, there's a physio department, there's a scouting, there's a management, and everybody reports and say, hey, what's going on here? He's injured. I need a report on when he'll be back. Oh, the guy got a red card. How come he's not playing? Because of this and that. So everybody has a department, and it's a business at the end of the day. And if you run the business properly, you have your department, they report into you, and you said, this is how we got to change it. And then you talk, you come with a plan, and you execute it. And whether it works or not, it's a moving part. It's a big moving part all the time. Sometimes it's going to stick. Sometimes it's not going to stick, your decisions that you make. So it's difficult because you're dealing with people. And it's not difficult if you look at it from a perspective of an organization.
And where did you where did this love of football come for you? What age? And do you remember the first game or first player that really drew you to it?
Being Punjabi, Indian, my parents came to Canada in 1974. Matter of fact, they just did a documentary on my life. It's out there. I'll send you the link if you want to watch it. It was, my dad was in the army. He played football, loved it, and I guess I inherited his DNA when it comes to the love of the game. So when you're here in Canada, you can't speak the language. You're brown and you're different. You get beaten up all the time, and you're kicking the ball around on the field, and that's your escape. And that was your peace of mind. That was your heaven. That was your sort of, I don't care about anything but this. And that's where I grew. And that's where my dream was, to become a professional soccer player. And I ended up being with Toronto Blizzard for 3 years in the 80s. And that was for me very, very good, very big for me in my mind, for an Indian guy to be with Toronto Blizzard in the 80s, in the late 80s. It wasn't easy. because you're expecting the Italians and the Greeks and the Irish and the Scottish and the English and the black Jamaicans, because that's what they're known for, that they're good players. But along comes an Indian guy, it's like, this guy doesn't belong here. He doesn't belong here. I don't, but you make your way. You prove yourself. And you work hard and hoping a coach will believe in your ability and say that, hey, I like this guy. I think he's a good player and we can develop him. And the key thing is always development. Because no player is going to be what you want. You can always develop and mold him into what you need him to be. And that's where my love really grew.
Is there a player that really stuck out to you, like you grew up idolizing, or were you a fan of like multiple players and took some aspects from one player's game into making yourself a better goalkeeper?
Well, goalkeeper-wise is Peter Shilton, Dino Zoff, right? Those are the goalkeepers that I idolized. But as a player, what's his name? Roberto. Man, I can't remember his name now. Played for Juve, played for Toronto Blizzard. Roberto Bettiga, right? I idolized him. He played for Toronto Blizzard. Amazing player. And so those were, when Italy won the World Cup, it was exciting because, hey, let's face it, being Indian, you got to choose a country here, right? It's either guys. So we always was either Brazil or Italy, right? Brazil gets knocked out, we're Italian. Italian gets knocked out, we're Brazil. It's always been those two in my family, always. So when Italy won the World Cup, it's like my own country won the World Cup, and we took a lot of pride in that because it just the way it is, and everybody does that in the world now, right? Matter of fact, you had more brawls in India at this World Cup than anywhere else in the world. In South India, you had the Indians wear, I don't know if you saw this, you had the Indians wearing the Brazilian shirts and the Indians wearing the Argentinian shirts. Indians wearing the Colombian shirts. They were all fighting each other because of the teams that they were supporting. It's on the video somewhere. You can Google it.
Like just everyone turned to the South Americans then at this World Cup, so that's good to see.
Man, that's the passion of the game. That's what the game does to you, and people don't realize that no other game, no other sport does that to you. I love all sports. I love all athletes. I respect every athlete that's out there working and dreaming and sacrificing. I love it, but no better game than football, man.
I agree. And before we wrap up, just a couple final questions here. Being an entrepreneur like yourself, and you're investing in a project here, who are some of the influences on you as a businessman, and what were some strategies that you've learned over the years in business that have helped you now as you transition into this president role and owning your own soccer club?
Well, having owning and still owning my own security company, and being a bodyguard as well. I don't do it now because I'm busy and I still love doing it, but I work with a very, very high profile family in the city. And I won't mention the names, but that gentleman has changed my life, changed my outlook in business, and changed my outlook on how to do business the right way. And the key thing is that I look at is a nice person ahead of me, in front of me. Is he genuine? Is he got a good family? Is he just after money, or is just looking to me as a stepping stone? If the person's a good person, a good human being sitting in front of me, and he's working hard, I'll do business with him. If a person in front of me is wealthy and a bit of a conniver, I won't do business with them, just for my advantage. That might get my comfort zone. I won't do that. And that's the biggest thing I've learned from him is do business with good people. Don't do it for the money all the time. Do it for good people, the money will come. And it's always paid off for me.
Good advice there. And just before we wrap up here and let you go, how can our listeners and viewers here at Vibe 105 stay up to date with everything you're doing? How can they follow the club and stay up to date with the latest and what's going on with the league in Spain?
They can follow my personal Instagram, Steve Nijjar Official, or they can follow Racing Madrid FC on Instagram, and we're building that, and our website, racingmadridfc.com. So those are the three ways people can follow us. Listen, we need sport, and this is an underdog story, and we're the underdogs, and we have a long fight. In the next 5 years, 6 years, we want to be back in we want to be in La Liga. Can we do it? Absolutely. That's our goal. That's our mission. And we need family support, everybody getting together saying, hey, let's get behind this. Let's see how far we can get with something that was this big. And then they can be part of history. We are part of history by bringing this club back to life.
Really appreciate that. That was well said. And I'm going to put the link down there in the description so everybody follow along there and be a part of this journey and this story. And hopefully we'll see you step by step, division by division, and eventually in La Liga. Steve, I really appreciate you sharing your time and coming on here on Vibe 105, and I wish you all the best there with this.
I so appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to tell my story, tell our story. Not many people in the city have given me the time of the day to tell our story. And I'm very humbled, and thank you for your time. And I hope people can turn around and be on this journey along with yourself as well.
Thank you.
Vibe Talks, exclusively on Vibe 105.